Alright, so I've been playing around with this red color chart. My previous video, we went over how I was able to obtain those colors on that color chart. Again, this video just doesn't show them any justice. I love it. And I love my reds. I just wanted to go a little more in depth. I am from a small town, and of course, our main school colors are red. So, even though they were red on my other color charts, they weren't the red that I was wanting. I just felt I could get them a little bit more deeper, a little more poppin'. So I went online and I looked up all different types of reds. So I've worked on this one. I've gotten all of the color codes, all the names, and I'm wanting to see how they were going to print with using the paper that I'm using, which is A7 125G, using my printer Epson ET 15000, and then my heat press. So I wanted to just make the quality red better. So I'm working in Affinity Designer. This is without contrast. This is what it looks like on my screen. And so if you go through, I can click on any of these. If I look at the Ajax red, you'll see here is your colors, and under the RGB hex here, you see that here is my color code. This is the number for Ajax red. It's D2122E. And so of course I have that written down here so that I can reference back and say, oh, this is the red that I'm wanting for this specific image. And of course I went through even fuchsia. I have fuchsia, which is FF00FF. They're all labeled, okay? This is without any adjustments with contrast or brightness, okay? So I did do a printout of just the standard chart and how it would print out on my printer. And of course they were red, but they weren't the red that I was wanting. To me, it looked like it was more of like a burnt red. A lot of them looked more maroon than what I wanted. So this is no contrast change. This is just how it printed. That's nice, but that's not the color pop that I'm wanting. This is definitely not as bright as my screen. So I went in, and again, I was not planning on posting a video. This is just what, again, trial and error for me because I am a beginner as well. So I went in, go back to my screen here. I went in and I wanted to see, I know previously in my previous video I talked about changing the brightness or the contrast. Sometimes it needs more, your image may need more contrast, sometimes you may need less, and definitely only changes if you're comfortable with them. And I would definitely recommend, doing some research and learning more about what color, contrast and brightness does for your images. So you'll see your layers here. These are all your layers. You'll see here all my color rectangles, and you'll see all of my font, my text that I've placed in there. Then you have your effect styles and different things. I just want to stay under my layers. Now, when I make adjustments to my brightness or contrast, if you're working with your image, with a specific image, you're going to obviously want to select the part of the image where you're wanting to color it red or whatever color it may be. But you'll want to select that. Then once you select it, say I want this one to be the US flag. Then I'd come over to my RGB hex and I would click on this number and I would type in this number here for my US flag, okay? Because I want this block to be like the US flag, then I would come in here and then I would type in the number for the US flag, which is 8F0A30. Of course, I would put that in here. Of course, I'm not going to do it right now, but that's how I would do it. Then, once I have my image selected, then I would come over to my adjustments here, and then, of course, adjust my brightness or my contrast, okay? But for this video purposes, I want to change it all because I want to do a full printout of how these are going to look. Trial and error. Do you want it to have more contrast? Do you want it to have less? How much contrast are you wanting? How less are you wanting? So that's where you're going to have to do trial and error. And if you have the extra ink, the extra material, definitely do some trial and error printouts. And you're going to you know, print out what's going to work for you, and make sure you document what you're using and what settings you've changed as far as your brightness and your contrast, so that you know that that's going to work for your images from here on forth. So for me, what I did is I would come here. You see down here and underneath your layers panel, you have a mask layer, you have adjustments, and then of course you have your effects, which is just your layer effects. I want to go to my adjustments. This is where you can recolor your images. You can do, if you're comfortable working with your levels and your white balance, you know, that's something that you're going to have to play around with. But for me, brightness and contrast is what works for my reds. So here, last video I increased it like 30%, I believe, for my reds. I want to increase them at 100%. If you decrease all the way to negative 100, you see that those colors just kind of get dull. I don't want them dull. I want them to pop, because obviously they're already dull. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I want to increase my to 100%, a positive 100%. And then I'm going to click merge, because I want to see how this is going to print out. So I would go to merge, and then of course I would come, we would do the print. It's my sublimation printer, my color matching, which is my Epson IJ printer 07. My print settings is going to be premium presentation matte, best quality, and of course I want to mirror image it. And then my color option, I do not have that option. Okay, and then I would click print. So at these settings with the 100% contrast, again, you may not be able to see this. It's not something that I plan to print, but I like the color so much I thought it would be good. But I definitely will print another one on and take some photographs. That way, you know, hopefully you can be able to see. But at the 100% contrast increase, this is what they printed at. So definitely a lot brighter than this side. So this is the same image. This one is 0 changes to it. 0 changes to the contrast. This one is contrast increased by 100%. So you see those reds, I'm sorry, you can probably see the stuff on the background, but these reds are just so much more vibrant. So I went ahead and created this chart here, the color chart. I'm going to prepare this so that if anybody wants a copy, I can send it to them, or you can grab it and just copy and paste it and then bring it into your design program and just play around with the colors. Again, if you don't feel comfortable, if you're not familiar with brightness and contrast, please do the research. It's only going to give you more knowledge so that you can put out better quality of products. And you know, that's the main thing when it comes to sublimation. You want your how are you going to stand out from other people? You want your product to have quality.